Welcome to the Bologna Show, presented by the Chicago Sports Bums. I am Bologna, also known as Peter Fonseca, and I'm back. Regular Wednesday schedule for the foreseeable future. Thank you for everyone joining in. We got Gordo in the comments first. Congrats to Gordo. Man, Jack's here early. I'm hoping for a mention of a Mr. Belvedere action figure. I don't know if Johnny had Mr. Belvedere action figures, but Mr. Belvedere classic TV intro. That theme song was awesome. So maybe we're gonna have to talk about that. I know the Drafty Pod, I think, did a podcast on TV theme songs, but that's a hot topic. Maybe we're gonna have to run that back for the nostalgia. But yeah, I'm back. This is a nostalgia heavy episode of the Bologna Show. I'm gonna have Johnny, my cousin, the Southside Bum, on and talk all things 80s and 90s toys. Before I bring them on stage, I had two pieces of housekeeping for you guys. The first being that the Bologna Show is now on Spotify and Apple Music. Some people were asking if you were going to be able to get this in podcast form. You can. The first 4 episodes are uploaded and now available. I'm going to upload the rest of them, including tonight's episode, after the show is over. So you'll be able to listen to me instead of watching me at your convenience. So if you can, head over to Apple Music or Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, click the subscribe, click the like, give me maybe a 5-star review. That would go a long way. And let's keep this train rolling because I am having fun with the Bologna Show. Second piece of housekeeping, and it's something I mentioned on the Bumcast earlier last week. Julie, my wife, is doing the Polar Plunge, and she wrote me into it. I'm doing the Polar Plunge at the beginning of March to benefit Special Olympics of Illinois. It's going to be a fun time. Myself and a bunch of my wife's coworkers are going to be dressing up as like 80s hair metal bands. I said I'm going to run back the Gene Simmons look that I did for the Bumcast with Johnny. So I'm going to be in full face paint and Kiss garb while I dive into a cold Lake Michigan. If you guys can and are willing to donate, you guys could head to Julie's Twitter page at Turkey Fonseca on Twitter or Instagram, and myself at Peter Fonseca on Instagram and Twitter. You'll be able to find our donation links, and I'll attach it to this, and I'll attach it to the podcast episodes when I upload them. So thank you guys. There's a bunch of people that have already donated. I want to thank you guys. And yeah, Julie got to her goal already. I'm going to be working on my goal, and I'm not worried about not reaching it, but I do appreciate everyone's support, and I appreciate everyone's support for the Bologna Show. So, all right, no more waiting. We got the Southside Bum back on the 1s and 2s. I'm going to bring him on in a second because we got a super chat to get to that is Johnny themed. So here he is, the Southside Bum. It's my cousin Johnny.
I'm back.
Well, look at that. Handsome as ever.
I'm back. I grew a beard, so it was the last time. It's been a while.
Yeah. You sound good. No Telemundo internet yet, but I'm gonna knock on wood because I have a feeling we're gonna get, just like old time's sake, we're gonna have to get a little bit of the Telemundo internet.
Yeah, everybody cross their fingers and toes out there in comment land.
We'll see. If we do get hit with the Telemundo internet, I'm going to have to do this show by myself, which I haven't done except for one. And I really didn't like it, but I'm probably going to do another solo show next week. I'll talk about that at the end of this episode. But yeah, man, first and foremost, happy birthday. Can we still celebrate your birthday even though it's Saturday? It's been what, like 4 or 5 days?
You know what? I'm
Birthday
not
week.
one. I'm not one to celebrate for such a long time. So I mean, I celebrated over the weekend. Shout out to all you guys who were came out to the Dirty Sock, or it's called the Sock now, right? It's not called the
Yeah,
Dirty
no more
Sock.
dirty. They cleaned it. They used some Tide. They threw it in the washer. No more dirty sock. It's just a sock. It's a classic
It's a clean
old
Scott.
school
Yeah.
dive bar. I don't even. It's not divey enough to be a dive bar. I think it's just a sports bar.
No, it's nice. I
Yeah,
like the so it's clean. It's a clean sock, not dirty. So
clean
I did
sock.
like it. But yeah, I celebrated with you guys on Saturday, so it was a good time. But I'm not here to celebrate. I'm not here to celebrate a full
Okay.
month. You know, I know there's people out there that will celebrate for a couple months, 1 week, whatever, and that's fine. But I'm not like that. So but
I spoke too soon. I knocked on I said knock on wood. You got hit with the Telemundo internet early. Before we get a little bit of nerd news, Johnny. I think people were waiting for you. They've been waiting for you a long time. Gordo has a 4.99 super chat, so thank you to Gordo. Salute. Is it true that Johnny sold all his toys for Polecats dollars? Cheers, Johnny. Screw baloney. That was to be expected.
never. I will never sell these toys.
So yeah, before we talk toys, I did want to mention like the reason I had you on. I mean, I wanted to have you on for since I started the show, but I've been very hyped about the He-Man movie ever since it came out. And the He-Man movie and trailer reminded me of all of the classic toys of our childhood. And I talked when I was on the show with Chirizi. Chirizi was on this show, and I said that you were the guy. You were the guy that like had all of the toys, or at least a lot of the toys. Um, so yeah, you said that you scrounged some up and you dusted them off the basement or the attic, or where did you have them? All right, this is going about as
Did I lose you again?
you lost me for a second, but I could hear you. You're frozen, but I could hear you. All right, you know what we're gonna do, Johnny? If you want to back in and back out, I'll bring you back. I'll start talking nerd news because I got one bit of nerd news that doesn't involve you, and then the other two do involve you. So I don't know if
Yeah,
you want.
let me restart the modem and I'll be
Yeah,
back.
restart and come back. This is
Okay.
classic. This is Johnny.
This is fuzzy me.
Good to be back. All right, I'm gonna get to some nerd news, so I'll do that now. First bit of nerd news is something that came. I just saw this today. I knew that Spider Noir was coming to Amazon Prime, but I did not know that a trailer is dropping tomorrow. If you guys remember Into the Spider Verse, but it's also been a comic book for a while now. Spider Noir is coming to Prime. It's MGM slash Sony doing it. It's 8 episodes long. It's starring Nicolas Cage, and it follows Spider-Man Noir investigating an assassination attempt of the crime boss Silvermane. Versions of popular Spider-Man villains, including Sandman, will appear. I'm excited for this. This sounds so weird. And if you guys don't know the lore or the comics, it's very much like a Spider-Man version of a like Dick Tracy slash Sin City type of feel to it. And the most interesting thing to me, at least, is that it's on Prime and not Disney Plus, right? If you guys remember, if you guys know, the rights to Spider-Man are owned by Sony, so they were able to shop this around. And it's not going to be a Disney Plus series or part of the MCU. It's part of a completely different universe. I'm really excited about it. I think it'd be interesting. And if it's awesome, I mean, it has a chance to be a clunker. Nicolas Cage is very hit or miss, and so is Sony. But if it is good, I think it puts a lot of pressure on Disney and the MCU and their shows because I mean, Daredevil has been hit or miss. I like it a lot, but I know a lot of people are up and down on it, which I think it's good. Um, it just puts a little bit of flame to their feet. So I'm really excited about it. JT is saying Nick Cage redemption from not getting his Superman movie. Yeah, this is true. Although they did a little Easter egg for Cage on that. But yeah, I think Nick Cage can pull off like like old school 30s, gangster detective kind of role. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited to see the trailer. It stinks that it's releasing tomorrow. I wish it released today so I'm able to actually talk about the trailer and not just like the posters on here. But it should be interesting. Next up, and this is something hopefully Johnny gets back here. Paramount is planning to open at least 3 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles themed pizzerias in the United States. And if you're a Turtles fan like I was growing up, you always want to have that cheesy pull of a cheese or pepperoni pizza, Michelangelo style. I saw people in the reply saying like there's like pop-up fake Ninja Turtles pizzerias all over the country, but these are going to be official. I know Bridgeport and the Southside Bum has a Cowabunga's pizza that is pretty close to Sox Park. I haven't been there yet. I do want to try to go there before or after a White Sox game. But yeah, Cowabunga Pizza is already in Chicago. It's in Bridgeport. I haven't been there, but it'll be cool. It'll be at least interesting to see how these actual official pizzerias go with the Ninja Turtles. But yeah, I was always a Michelangelo guy. I don't know if people in the comments could, let me know who their favorite turtle is. But it's definitely something that like just makes sense. It might be a little like, 20 years too late. But this is the nostalgia episode of the Bologna Show, and nostalgia plays. Right now, we're the adults. We're the ones with money. We're, going back to our childhood. A lot of the time I talk about like, I want, Jordans that I didn't have in my youth. And now as an adult, I'm trying to, buy the Jordans or buy some action figures or different things that I didn't have as a kid. Johnny's back. Hopefully he's back for good, but if not, we will roll with the punches. Have you been to Cowabunga Pizza in Bridgeport?
No, I haven't yet. I passed by there plenty of times, and
It looks cool.
It is. I will say, going by, you see a like kind of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles van out there in the front. I don't know if that's an actual delivery service. I haven't tried it yet, but even going inside, I heard somebody say, I forgot who said that they went there, but they said going in there was actually pretty good, and the pizza was actually really good. So, but yeah, I got to try it here soon because I hear good things.
Yeah, I need you to do like a boots on the ground reporting or something, because I want to try. And I mean, you live a lot closer than I do, so maybe you do the reporting first. Also, oh, you know what? This is funny because like StreamYard, I think this happened to the 108 guys last week. StreamYard shows your old super chats now. So I saw one. I thought this was new, but no, it's old. But thank you to Gordo anyway. You're not Zoe, you're Johnny. All right. Next up and last one before we really get into the nostalgia of toys is something I really didn't really care about. Johnny, you mentioned you bummed of the week. WWE and Saudi Arabia for our bum of the year tournament. And then I think Joey P was the one that bummed WWE ticket prices. So we all wanted to go to Elimination Chamber in Chicago, which is like next week. And ticket prices were out of control. I don't think any of us bought tickets except for Joey P. And now I have FOMO. I have FOMO because this week they announced that it's going to be CM Punk versus Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight title match. And while a lot of people are saying like, oh, this is a weird match because this seems like it's just a placeholder, to get Punk over because they were already like started the Roman Reigns storyline for WrestleMania. Finn Balor is one of my guys. He's always been my guy. Johnny, I know you've been an OG Bullet Club guy from the beginning. Finn Balor seems like one of those guys that just never got the push he deserved. I mean, he did and then got hurt and then just never got back there. So I would like to see this in Chicago. I got FOMO now. I complained about Elimination Chamber when tickets came out, and now I was like, damn, maybe I should have got tickets. You interested in a Punk versus Balor feud?
Not for those tickets, but or those ticket prices. This is I do definitely want to check this out. I think the one thing though that I'm just very upset about WWE is how they've handled Finn Balor in the WWE. And NXT, he was incredible. He was awesome.
Yeah.
And in the beginning of WWE, when he came up, obviously he became champion, and then he had that injury. And then all of a sudden, it was just a lot of different things that they tried. They tried to put him back into the OC, the original guys from the Bullet Club. It wasn't the same. You have to have
Right.
that Bullet Club name. You have to have all that, all that stuff. And then it just these other like gimmicks that he was in. I mean, obviously he was, still in the Judgment Day, but I mean that stuff was kind of like, I don't know, that became old too fast. So, but this looks good, and I hope there is something that happens where it could start developing him a lot more better. Because if I'm Finn Balor, I don't know how long he has a contract for or whatever. I mean, I feel like go on to the next part, go into like maybe AEW. You hear all the rumblings with AJ Styles, that would be nice. Just kind of
Yeah.
see something different. They're not utilizing him good, so I just feel like maybe they should. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
I'll maybe change my mind later if they kind of do something different with him.
I don't expect him to win. Obviously, Chicago is, CM Punk territory. And
Yeah.
it does seem like they're just leading up to Roman Reigns versus Punk at WrestleMania. But if they somehow throw a curveball and have Balor finally, get his redemption and kind of, push that storyline, I think it would hook in a lot of casual or maybe even AEW fans, people that are kind of disenfranchised with WWE. They have a chance to do something special here. I don't think they're going to pull the trigger. I don't think they have the balls to, but I wish they would. And this is me coming as a huge Punk fan.
Yeah, I just think that, yeah, I don't think that he's going to win. I just hope that the direction of it will start something
Yeah, something.
where it'd be like, okay, this will be a storyline to develop him into like kind of like where Seth Rollins is at, because it's just I've seen CM Punk being a main eventer. I want to see Finn Balor. He carried New Japan Pro Wrestling. He created the Bullet Club, which is probably one of, I would say, top 5 best factions in wrestling history.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just think that they could utilize him a lot better, and I don't know. And that was Triple H's boy as well too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm wondering why this is not like, materializing with him. But I hope it does. Like I said, I hope things change for him. But it might be the same old thing. And, you just continue to have CM Punk bury like most of these wrestlers.
Yeah. That's funny. I'm glad you mentioned, him creating Bullet Club. I watched a podcast with Cody Rhodes and Finn Balor where Cody Rhodes basically said a lot of people owe you a lot of money because he created something that was not only just New Japan, it took over the business. I know a lot of people talk about, he told a story where like Bullet Club shirts like sold more than any other WWE shirts, even when like they were having WWE pay-per-views. Michael Rubin, the owner of Fanatics, he was like, who is the Bullet Club? And I think it was Triple H having to tell him like, oh yeah, we don't own that brand, or we don't own that. These are guys from New Japan. So yeah, man, Finn Balor, he doesn't get the credit he deserves because like he started something that is gonna outlive him. Like Bullet Club will always be remembered with, the NWOs of the world or the Degeneration X's and stuff like that.
And plus too, when that was hot and you would be wearing a Bullet Club shirt, everybody be tossing up the sign to you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
everyone knew.
I would see it like at the Sox games, anywhere you go. If somebody sees you with that Bullet Club shirt and they know what that is, they always hit you with that too sweet. And that's what I love about. That's how big it was. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that match goes.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I probably won't be at Elimination Chamber, but I definitely will be watching. All right, so I have you on to talk toys. Before we talk toys, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'll bring in the slideshow where I'm basically going to – this is going to be an hour of me complaining that you had all of the cool toys, and I just came over and messed them up for you. ShySportsBums.BigCartel.com is the home for all Chicago Sports Bums merch. We have Bears, Hawks, Sox, and Bums merch available. anything you need to get ready for a big game or a Chicago Sports Bums event. Remember, all profits go directly back into our Whiskey at Comiskey tailgates to keep the beer and food free for everyone. So head over to shysportsbums.bigcartel.com and pick up a couple Toot Tree shirts today. All right, I got this AI as hell thumbnail that Chat GTP created, and I didn't have time to change it, but look at that sexy ass Lionel. It looks like an anime Lionel. I don't know what happened here, and I was like, well, you know what? I'll run with this.
He's got a big bulge too. I mean, look at that bulge.
They
really like Lionel.
Packing heat, Lionel. He's got the sort of omens in his hand and in his pants too. We got another super chat. Gordo, you don't have to keep super chatting. You can just comment. I'll put your comments up, man. But I appreciate the $9.99. Here's a tip: Johnny getting that Macho Man figure again.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, he knows the lure of the Johnny toys. I hear Johnny Chicago accent a lot over the podcast. All right, first up is something not necessarily the most popular of 80s toys, but it's something we've always had, a contention with. And it's Teddy Ruxpin. Because I always joke that Teddy Ruxpin taught you how to read, Johnny. And it's only because I was always jealous that you had a Teddy Ruxpin and I didn't. I complained about it. My sisters are tired of hearing the story of Teddy Ruxpin that I didn't have one and Johnny did. But yeah, it was something. I remember you having that, and you had like the buddy that came with it, right?
Yeah, I had that. I forgot what the buddy's name is.
It was like a glowworm or something, right?
Yeah, it was just like a worm or caterpillar.
Yeah. But I mean, these things were hot in the streets in the 80s, especially like when we were like really young, probably like 4 or 5.
Yeah, the Teddy Ruxpin, he taught me how to read. It wasn't from school. I mean, this was AI before AI.
This was revolutionary because you would put that, whatever it was, an 8-track disc or a cassette in his back, and then you would play and you would read along with the book. It was a at the time technologically savvy. But did you ever do like the things people did where like they would put like Dark Side of the Moon or like any like like Anthrax or any like cassettes or 8-tracks? I don't even know. That looks like an 8-track. It doesn't even look like a cassette.
Damn, you know what? So I didn't bring my Teddy Ruxpin with me. I still have it. It's at my mom's house. But I never tried that. I'm glad, you know what? I'm just gonna put it out here. I'm glad we were talking about putting different cassettes and all that. I found a whole bunch of other stuff. So I found my Chicago Bulls.
Oh shit!
Greatest hits.
Let's get this bigger so you can show off the.
Yeah.
All right. So besides like the intro song, what is and only the Bulls? What is on the greatest hits for the Bulls cassette?
The radio montage. I guess the draft. It says the draft. What I Like About You. Him scoring 63. Macarena. Anybody remember that?
They don't even have like the Gary Glitter song.
I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff here. I love the game, the champ. Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff on here. But no, you know what? Getting back to that, I never did that. That's actually a good idea. So I think I gotta go back to my mom somewhere else. I'm gonna try that. That's a good idea.
Just remember to bring whatever like those gigantic C or D batteries that the Teddy Ruxpin took. So we're like
I do need batteries. Yeah.
Every toy in the 80s took those gigantic batteries, and those batteries were such pieces of shit. It would last you half a day, and you'd be done with them.
Yeah. Oh fuck, I forgot the batteries. All right, yeah.
Yeah, you
maybe not.
Go to Menards, get some batteries. But yeah, Teddy Ruxpin was an OG classic. I was always jealous that Johnny had it. But now let's get to the real reason why we're here. First and foremost, I'll start off with the Masters of the Universe set. I talked to Chirizi about it a couple weeks ago, and everyone had their like rankings. And I said that He-Man for me was always 1-1. It was like He-Man and then wrestling figures and then Thundercats and then everything below. But everyone had like, like I have a buddy that was huge in Ninja Turtles, and He-Man wasn't a thing. I remember like a lot of our cousins, Joel included, we were all into He-Man. Were you into He-Man more than you were into Thundercats?
No, I was into He-Man more than
Yeah.
anything.
I think we all were.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
had
no, I
you had a bunch of these guys.
yes. Yes. And I you know what? I had a bunch of them. I don't know where they're at. That
shit.
that's got yes. That's a little concerning, but I do have all that. I still got the He-Man toy chest. I still got Castle Grayskull. I wasn't gonna bring all that stuff with me because it's like, how am I gonna carry a toy?
Just lugging everything around.
Yeah, just trust me.
But yeah, the things about He-Man were, I mean, it was smart by the creators. They just kept releasing different people, right? Like, like you had Fisto and Ram Man and all the different guys. They just kept creating new toys so that like you would have to buy them all. It's almost like Pokemon where you want to collect them all. But of all like the big toys, Snake Mountain and Castle Grayskull were like, that was the pinnacle. If you had one of those, you were set. Like, and I'm talking out of all of like the action figure toys.
Agree. I mean, those were like, because it was a whole like play set. I mean, this is when they were coming out with when I don't know if you saw on Netflix, they have these the toys that made us.
The toys that made us. Yeah. Brian S.
Yes.
always talks about that series. I love that series.
And it's great. They're very descriptive of how like they started this. So one of the things that the reason why they came out with all this toy lines was because of Star Wars. Star Wars was big during the late 70s, and they wanted to come up. I guess they lost the rights to it. So who's the toy manufacturer that does He-Man?
I thought it was Mattel. Mattel owns the rights.
Yeah.
I think Mattel owns the rights now. I'm pretty sure it was Mattel back then too.
So yeah, that was the reason why they wanted to come up with something different, something more like kind of like the opposite of Barbie, but they wanted for boys to play with dolls or action figures. G.I. Joe was coming out as well too. But one of the things that people don't realize about Masters of the Universe is that it was not a cartoon at first. It was actually they just came out with the action figures.
Yeah.
What I found was on my mom's addict was that they also came up with comic books. They had comic books to kind of tell you the storylines with some of the these action figures. So I still have them. I still have these comic books that they had, and they would just kind of tell you like a little bit stories of like some of this stuff. And I haven't gone through these, but it's just interesting how it's got started. I always thought it was a cartoon first, and then
show them up to the camera again. Now that I got it bigger.
Yeah, so I got the
oh hell yeah,
this one, and then this one, and then this one. So I got a lot of quite a bit of them. I also did find the He-Man shield too.
Yeah, all of those. Like I remember like. Now, I don't remember when. I had to have been like super young, but I remember going to Venture. We all remember Venture.
Venture.
That's where I got my He-Man action figures, and I remember I got He-Man and Skeletor, and like my mom's like, you get to pick two, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna pick those two. I'm not gonna pick any of the B Squad. And then just going home and just having like all kinds of. I mean, that's where when you're a kid, you're the most creative. So it's like, like I'll do, actual fights. Then sometimes it's like you think they're wrestlers, but it's always like they're always fighting to the point where like a lot of these toys, you just bash them in together until the paint starts like wearing off.
Oh, I had a lot of that. So yes, that was very aggressive with the toys. Yeah. Oh gosh, shout out like Venture, man. That used to be my spot, man. I used to love Venture. That was kind of like it reminded me of Target. They had all these different types.
Venture was like an old school
yeah.
Target. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get back to the slideshow. After He-Man, I think if He-Man and Masters of the Universe are the Michael Jordan of the toy world, then I think I would consider Thundercats the Scottie Pippen of the toy world. I guess, at least for people our age. I was too, I guess, young to remember like the Mask toys or Voltron or even the Star Wars figures that I've talked about. Like I didn't get Star Wars until way later, but Thundercats was like my number 2.
You know what's crazy? Just looking at some of these, because again, I was going through my mom's attic today and going through all this stuff and realizing that, like, why do I have this like bird figure or why do I have this walrus like toy? Did not realize that those were were Thundercats toys. I did
Yeah.
find probably one of the best characters of all, one of the best villains of all,
Oh, Mumra.
Mumra.
So that's the thing. A lot of people are Skeletor or Mumra. I was always a Skeletor guy, but a lot of people were like Mumra was the best. Mumra
Yeah.
was good, good bad guy.
I also too think that they should bring this as a live action movie. I don't know if it's something that they talked about or what, but this would probably be a badass film. If I think if Masters of the Universe does well,
Yeah,
that could
then
probably be a consideration.
the one thing that worries me about Thundercats is like, now this is not necessarily like, I guess it's still nerdy, but it's like a completely different type of nerd, is like the Broadway play nerds. And Cats has been a big play for the longest time. When they made that Cats movie and like Taylor Swift was in it and a bunch of other, James Corden was in it, that looked like a piece of shit. If Thundercats looks anything like Cats the movie, that's gonna be a problem. I don't need to see Panthro and Lionel getting dragged through the internet streets like that.
Okay, hold on. Wait. How are you comparing that to Cats? Just because they're in the same like
Well,
mammals or
the
type
CGI, yeah, the CGI and like the.
No, I don't think
action
they'll
of it.
make it that bad. I think that again, you look at how they're gonna do the Masters of the Universe, and maybe some director out there is like, you know what, that worked, and it's 2026. We should probably do another thing called the Thundercats because that was big, and bring that out because I feel like that was something that I was hoping for they would do as a live action movie. Thank God they didn't do it at the time because look at that old Masters of the Universe and they fucked that up.
Piece of shit.
But what hopefully somebody sees like I hope everything goes well with that Masters of the Universe because I think if that does click really well with audiences and younger people, I think that could be probably a next step to bring more of these cartoons to live actions. Maybe or they already did Transformers. Voltron maybe they might do. I mean, there's like other ones that they could do live action. So I think that'll probably be the key here.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna put up some comments. So StreamYard, and I'm blaming StreamYard. This is not a baloney show issue. The comments are coming in chunks. It's like 5 minutes of nothing, and then they all come at once. So like some of this conversation is from like stuff we were talking about with Teddy Ruxpin and stuff. Hopefully StreamYard fixes this shit. But I wanna mention a couple things. Joey P, he's been a church guy as long as I've known him. I joined the church as a child because they had a Castle Grayskull. That's a great way. That's a great way to lure some kid. Now, wait, I shouldn't be saying this, especially as a church. They shouldn't be luring kids. But that's a great way to get people to go to church. That's a great way to get people to go to church.
Church basement.
Gordo's big on Johnny. He says, great to have Johnny back. How much are you paying Gordo for this?
Nothing. We had a very good conversation at the 108 day. So
HBIC's mad. Turtles, G.I. Joe, and Mask were not top 3.
I think we'll get to that here.
We're gonna get to all of those. Although
this guy's rushing us.
I had a power ranking when the movie first came out, and I know like the Rougarou and a couple other people were commenting on it. I was never a G.I. Joe guy. Never. I was never a G.I. Joe cartoon guy. I was never a G.I. Joe action figure guy. So that is something that's missing from the slideshow. But that's a me problem. I just never got into it.
I wasn't either. The only time I probably watch it is when they had Sergeant Slaughter. That was probably the only time I watched it because it was a wrestler in the cartoon.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously G.I. Joe was huge. I mean, especially that one toy that was like a huge it was like kind of like a for fighter jets. It was really
like
big. I can't think of it.
Yeah, right. I remember damn, what was the guy that directed like Mallrats and Kevin Smith? Kevin
Yeah.
Kevin Smith had a show where like him and his buddies owned a comic book shop, and like people would trade in different things. And I remember that GI Joe like plane, like I
Looks
don't
like
know,
a
destroyer.
carrier
Yeah,
like type
carrier.
of
That thing went for crazy money. Although
Yeah.
I did see while researching this, there's some He-Man toys that go for some goofy money. Here we go. Arguments over action figures. This is the stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Baloney missed the messages at the end of G.I. Joe, and his questionable morals reflect
Yeah,
that.
that's
No,
right.
I said my prayers and drank my,
That's wraying.
said my
I
prayers and
I
ate my vitamins.
they did that in every cartoon, like Captain Planet, He-Man. They
Yeah.
always had messages at the end of it.
Yeah, that's what this world needs nowadays, is more cartoons telling you how to act.
Yeah, drink your milk.
All right, so this is Transformers, the OG Transformers. I love Transformers. They were, a next step down, but Optimus Prime, I think every kid our age, Johnny, had to have an Optimus Prime at one point or another, whether it's the big one, the smaller action figure one. But yeah, man, I was so excited. And the first two movies, now once we were adults, were okay. But these toys and the cartoon fucked.
Yes, I loved it. I didn't have that actually. I don't think I had any Transformer toys. I think it was very heavy with like the He-Man and Thundercats and the wrestlers. I was more into that, but I love Transformers. I loved everything about it. I still can't remember the guy's name who had the cassette. What was that guy's name? Was that Starscreen, or he had the cassette tape?
Soundwave.
Soundwave, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was my favorite one.
He was a bad guy, wasn't he?
Bad guy, good guy. He was a good guy to me.
Is a good, cool design. But yeah, I was always a Transformer guy, Optimus Prime guy, always a classic. Ninja Turtles. Now Ninja Turtles, we were a little older once. So this is where it's like I purposely named this show 80s and 90s toy nostalgia, because I feel like Turtles came out a little bit later. It was like 89, 90, 91 when they were like really off and popping. But everything about this, like everyone had either off 4 and then Splinter or Shredder. I never had the Technodrome, which was, there you go. So yeah, I have a Michelangelo somewhere behind here. But yeah, I loved all of these, like even when they added like Casey Jones and all of those, like I feel like he was like a little newer. I loved all of these. But did you have, I mean, obviously you just showed me you had all of those as well.
Yeah, I didn't have too much, and I really wanted like almost every single one because I love the cartoon. I mean, I think that's where I started with the cartoon, and it was actually, I don't know if you know this, but it was a comic book at first, and it was a dark comic book
Yeah.
before it became a little bit more kid friendly. So I didn't really get a chance to see like look at those comics, but yeah, I was really big on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, especially when they came out with the cartoons and they came out with the movies. The first two movies, that third one was sucked.
Yeah.
But and the games as well too. I know we're
Those
not talk too much into video games.
The video game, yeah, we're gonna save video games for a different show because I want to,
Yeah.
save the nostalgia for different things, and we do want to talk NES and Super Nintendo and Sega. I had my cousin and like lived with me at the time had a TurboGrafx 16, so it's like I want to talk all of those old type of things. But now that we're talking Turtles, we can't talk the video games. They were impossible. Those Turtle games
first
were
one was
so fucking hard, man.
Yes, the first one was insanely hard. All those Nintendo games, I mean, you want to talk about stress, you want to talk about anxiety. No wonder I'm like that, because all those Nintendo games were fucking insanely. You couldn't even pass. You tried to beat Legends of Zelda, the second one, forget it. But you know what? Probably some of my favorite toys of that Turtles series was the Technodrome, but it was that van, that Turtles van.
Got it. I got it right here.
Yes, I love that Turtles van. I always wanted it. They had a blimp too that I always
Yeah.
wanted too, but I think that turtle van was my number one thing that I wanted. I never got it.
I remember they had this turtle van or a different one. It used to shoot out like sewer caps. I thought that was so fucking cool. It was like, oh yeah, the sewer caps that would shoot out of the van. But yeah, man, it's always that's how they get you, right? They have the action figures that are, more affordable than everything else. But then it's like the big toys like Snake Mountain or the van or the Technodrome, which are like the big Christmas gifts, if you will. But yeah, I love the turtle stuff. And here we go. Here we go with the comments coming back. Joey P says, I remember donating my Optimus Prime, then later bought another one at a yard sale. You see this? You can't get rid of this stuff because then it ends up being a lot of money. HBIC says he had every variant. Now I don't know which one this was. Jose, shout out Jose. Hey guys.
Hey.
I could play the Nintendo game for days. I will say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, was much more playable.
So much fun.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
All right, next up on the list is, this might be the main event of the show because I specifically remember going over to your house and you had the wrestling ring, you had the figures. I've got my Hogan still here, same exact Hogan that's on the screen. It had like the bear hug action, if you will. But we were always wrestling kids. We were wrestling fans since I can remember. And I remember spending hours creating matches, creating Survivor Series, Royal Rumbles, any type of match you could have. This was our childhood.
So I like those, and I actually do have a couple here, kind of similar to the ones you have. Obviously, I have the Roddy Piper, I got the Macho Man. I got a couple here. I'm not going to show all of them, but I think I don't know. You tell me which one was probably the more popular ones, because I think when they came out with these dogs over here, the big
big
guys
boys
over here. Yeah, I got all this. Like, I still got some of the wrestlers, Hillbilly Jim.
Are those the old school like LJN ones?
Yes, these are the original ones.
Yeah, so those came out. At least I remember just being too young for those. I remember being like, this was the ones right here are my prime.
Too young. You're like 6 months younger than me.
No, you're way older. You're like 15 years older than me.
Can I say something? Because Gordo mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
And I told him this story, and I want to mention it. And I'm glad that Jason put out the comment about the WCW ones sucked.
They did suck.
I got one. Ric Flair.
That's a good one.
I traded this for the big LJN ones of the Macho Man. So I traded that one to our buddy Manny.
He was really big. Shout out Huevo.
Shout out Huevo. I traded it because I'm like, I'll take. He gave me this one and an Arn Anderson one, which I still have, and I gave him the Macho Man one. He wanted that one, and now, I think 15 years ago, or I think it was like 15 years ago, I called him, and I said, "Hey man, do you have any of your Macho Man stuff that I gave you?" And he didn't have it, but that's how bad I was. Like, I can't believe I got rid of this thing because you
got fleeced.
I got fleeced. I think Macho Man just maybe by far might be the best wrestler back in the 80s. Just now looking at more and more of what he did, I think that's why I'm a little crushed that I don't have that action figure anymore.
Yeah, that's tough. How much is the little Ric Flair toy overcharge for cameo? Yeah, 100.
This one's free.
Or 1,000. I forgot what the cameo price for Ric Flair was, but it's not worth the money, especially because he's just sauced the whole time. All right, so if we talk wrestling figures, we also have to talk wrestling buddies, because if you guys are OG Bumcast fans or Chicago Sports Bums fans, you guys know the lore of the WWF wrestling buddies. These things, I remember they teased them and they announced them before like they released. So like every kid our age wanted one bad before they came out. And obviously, you know, you had your choice of like Hogan or Ultimate Warrior. They also had like Big Boss Man, Macho Man, um, Million Dollar Man. And you got one. You got one for your birthday, if I believe. You got a Hulk Hogan wrestling buddy for your birthday. We were at your birthday party, and if you guys know us, the Gonzalez side of the family, there's like 15 kids like like around our age. I mean,
Yeah.
it's Eric, Joel, Hado, and Joselito, me, you.
Trust me, it was just more than enough to destroy. Yeah, just get to the point. You destroyed my Hulkamania wrestling buddy.
We opened that thing out of the package, and that thing, it was like a beatdown. It was like a prison yard beatdown of that Hulk Hogan, where people were jumping off the table, elbowing him, and like just, I mean, it was bad. And I remember we scuffed his nose. We scuffed Hulk Hogan's nose, and Johnny, you cried pretty bad about it. So I'm here 40 years later to apologize for scuffing Hulk Hogan. You know what? We preach accountability on the Chicago Sports Bums. My bad. I went too ham. on the wrestling buddy.
You know what? I'm glad this is recorded. I'm really glad. I need the rest of them to apologize as well too, on camera as well too. So we might have to get all the cousins on here and apologize.
It's gonna look like the Brady Bunch, just like squares of cousins apologizing to you.
I need them all to apologize.
About
I didn't have this
fucking
thing
up, just absolutely
longer than
fucking
10
up.
minutes. No longer than 10 minutes. That thing was done.
I don't think you hadn't even blown out the candles to your birthday cake by the time we were fucking that thing up.
You might as well destroy that one too. You might as well destroy the cake. Everything. You should have just done a Beastie Boys and just started throwing stuff all over the place. So
you're lucky you only got one of those, because we would have messed them all up, Boss Man included.
Jeez. Well, fast forward to a couple years, like or let's go back maybe a couple years here. Dougie actually bought me a very almost brand new Hulk Hogan wrestling buddy. So now he's a cousin now. I mean, I have to put him as a cousin because you're out. You got to go. I don't care if this is your show. Maybe beef is right. Maybe that was a little bit of it was. What the hell? That was such a like a half-ass. Yeah, maybe that was a half-ass apology. No, I maybe need all the cousins to do it on camera.
That's gonna be a tough ask. I'll work on it. We'll see. Maybe for your 50th birthday, we'll get that for you. Maybe we could book a couple of them on Cameo like we do Ric Flair.
I guess so.
But yeah, Dougie did buy you one, and I'm still jealous. Because I don't have one. All right. Next up is the Ghostbusters, and I'll admit I was never a Ghostbusters guy. I like the movie and I like the cartoon with Slimer and everything, and the action figures I didn't really care about. But shout out my guy, White Boy Rick Brown. I remember he had all of like the backpack, the proton pack, and like the stuff you stepped on for the trap. Those were the awesome toys. That was the stuff everybody wanted for Christmas.
Yes, I never had any of these Ghostbusters at all, but the toys were actually I wanted that station wagon car that they had, and then that proton pack as well too. Those were really. I think those were. I was also jealous too. It was kind of like the same thing with the Turtles, is that they had a lot of cool stuff as well too. They had that little firehouse station as well.
Yeah,
too,
the station. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Obviously they had Slimer and they had all that ooze and stuff. So yeah, I didn't really have any of those toys. But it's not saying that I didn't want them. Yeah.
JT says HBIC needs a trap for his closet ghost. Yeah, we're gonna have to find a couple of these traps for the Jason ghost, because
that's true. There's talk about aliens. We're not alone type of stuff. So
yeah,
we might have to be buying some of this stuff. I agree.
Wait, is it the proton pack or the plasma pack? Now Jason says the Ghostbusters plasma pack was the best. I always thought it was the proton pack, but maybe I'm
Wait, that's
mistaken.
the thing that you put on your back, right? The proton pack.
That's what that's what I thought.
Oh, well, what's the plasma pack?
That's what I'm saying. Semantics, maybe?
I don't know.
Joey P. Maybe Joey P. He owned everything Ghostbusters. The P in Joey P stands for proton pack, maybe.
Oh, that makes sense.
We'll find out. Maybe they could correct us because I'm not Googling shit right now. We're going old school. Just everything I can remember up here. All right, this thing I remember like when the Super Soaker 50 came out, and this was like early 90s, if I can remember correctly. It was like 90, 91, 92. This changed the game, man. These Super Soaker. Oh, I didn't know. Dude, I know you had one. I felt like we all had one. And I remember my mom buying myself one and my sister one. We both had dueling Super Soaker 50s. And those things, like, I know like water's not going to do much damage, but it felt like water would have taken an eye out when you pump that thing full of air and just let it rip in a hot summer day. These things were badass.
Yeah, I think, well, obviously the first one was a classic. That was a classic one. But then they started coming out with that double one. They had like double ones and triple ones where you had more power coming out of those Super Soakers. I also wanted those too, but I think that that classic Super Soaker 50 was probably one of the best ones.
Yeah, I need to know where Jeff T grew up because everyone that pissed in these are going to hell. Like who's shooting piss out of Super Soaker 50s? Not in my youth. We were good kids.
What part of did you grow up on the south side and what part?
Yeah, JT, I don't know where that's bad, man. That seems like Jason's neighborhood, maybe like the Midway area. We've been pissing in the Super Soakers. You do have the Johnny. I do appreciate you rated your mom's house just for this podcast, and I appreciate the research and
yeah, she was wondering what I was doing, and I was just it's for a project.
Yeah, a school project. Jason's talking about the Super Soaker 200. I do have a slide for the Super Soaker 100 because while it was the next iteration, I hated this thing. This was such a fucking gimmick that like it had the extra little globe, like reserve area for the ammo, which is more water. I was like, why didn't they just make it a bigger tank that holds everything? It pissed me off. So like the 100 was shittier than the 50. I'll go to my death talking about that. Now, after this is when they came out with like the backpack one with like the fucking, like it was basically like a shotgun-esque pump. That thing would fuck people up.
Hey, you think maybe if I fill this up with beer and bring it at the tailgate?
Oh, hell yes. Yes, that's exactly what I don't know what I'll have to do to sanitize it. I'll distill it, run it through the dishwasher a couple times. We'll clean it, but we are definitely, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to give Joey P and Sandy P, have them fill it up with tequila and just start shooting people like 50 yards away. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, the idea, man.
Yeah, the backpack Super Soaker just dripped down your ass. It was just the instant swamp ass for everybody. That's a great call by JT. Now, were you a Nerf gun guy?
I was. I didn't. I had maybe like a small Nerf gun, but I didn't have any of those like these ones that you're showing. I didn't have any of the big artillery ones, the army versions of them.
Yeah, so I remember like it was really like my mom and dad didn't want us to have anything gun related. So it was a miracle when they bought us the Super Soakers. But then we got like two really small like Nerf guns. And at this time I had already moved from the city into the suburbs and like you're familiar with all of like, my friends that I grew up with in Hickory Hills. They had all of them. So I was outgunned. I was outmanned. I had like a little bitty, like, like dart Nerf gun. And then these motherfuckers were coming out. I remember when this came out, the Ballzooka.
Oh,
this
gosh.
thing, like now, credit, this was more of a marketing gimmick because I remember wanting this so bad and I never got it. But then trying my friends out, and it was a dribbler. It really didn't shoot out far enough to really fuck anybody up. It was like you were pumping that thing, and it was a noodle arm. It was the Andrew Benintendi of Nerf guns. It didn't shoot far enough. It didn't have an arm. But these things were cool. I remember having these. Yeah, the Nerf bow and arrow was good too. That's a good call.
Do they even still have any of this stuff, like the bow and arrow? And
dude, Nerf is so popular with kids nowadays. They just keep coming up with different things. Like they'll do like YouTube things where it's like sharpshooting with Nerf guns and stuff like that. Nerf is having like a resurgence. It's hot in the streets. All right, so I wanted to keep it in the Nerf family because we all had one of these. You know, whether we're playing 500 or just like tackle football in the yard, or even like knee football in our cousin's basement and stuff like that. The progression of Nerf footballs is something to behold because these were all great. The Nerf football turbo is the one I really remember. But like just knee football in the basement, like if we did it nowadays, we would kill each other. Like ACLs, MCLs, back injuries, everything else. But as a kid, man, it was just like everyone thought they were Barry Sanders or like even Walter Payton. I fucked with the Nerf footballs hard.
I remember during recess in the grammar school, we used to play on the granted I went to a city grammar school, so we would play on the street. They would block the get the horses and block the street, so we would have a good range of area where we could play. And we just brought that football out, man. We would play. There's times where I'd be throwing it, looking like Caleb Williams and scoring and throwing them bombs. I think what I really liked about that turbo one was that I think everybody loved that spiral, that smooth spiral that you would throw if you throw it really good. But yeah, man, these were great. I mean, especially if you didn't have the actual like authentic NFL football ones or the close to it. These were just. I mean, these were incredible. I think that their turbo one was probably one of my favorite. I think I actually still have that one, except some dog bit my neighbor's dog bit the.
That's the thing. If you had a pet growing up, or even like an infant sister, like I did, if they chew off the top of it or the tip of it, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Beef saying we used to play street football with a regular Nerf. That's a challenge throwing that thing. Yeah, like. I don't care what kind of arm you could have. Caleb Williams' arm. That original Nerf football is only going 15 yards tops. There ain't no Hail Marys. There's no deep passes with the Nerf football. It was like a John Shoop offense. Everything was close and close to the line of scrimmage. The turbo was the best. I remember this, but then we were living in a time of technology, Johnny. Not only was like the internet getting invented and like different things coming around, they really perfected the football when it came to
the vortex. Yeah,
that vortex. I remember the commercial with John Elway and the whistles that howled, and everyone had a vortex, and that's when you started. I mean, everyone thought that they were either, I don't know, at the time who I was going to say Terrell Owens, but that's even too old. Like it was just
Jerry Rice.
Yeah, Jerry Rice. Deep bombs, down the block with the vortex. This is the peak of technology in my eyes.
The only thing about the vortex was that if you're gonna play football, you can't play with that vortex because well, at least I didn't. I never play with the vortex if I'm playing we got a couple guys and we're playing, because then that thing is going to get in the way, that attachment.
Yeah, the fin would break off if you played tackle football or I don't even everyone played I don't even know how to say it. I mean, we're gonna get canceled, but it was in our time. It was smear the queer. If you're running around with a football, that thing was gonna get destroyed.
Yeah, no, I whenever I had the ball, like I would just, those are probably the best to launch it as
Yeah.
far as you could. But yeah, I wouldn't play it with, like, if it was like kind of street ball or anything like that. If we were like, it's just that little thing would get out in the way.
And you mentioned bringing the Super Soaker back to Lot B. In like, when we first started doing the Whiskey at Comiskey's, we were bringing a football to just toss around pre and post game. I think I'm going to try to find a Vortex so we could bring a Vortex to Lot B. If we could toss that, how many parking spaces do you think we could toss a Vortex?
You better ask people to sign like waivers or
Waivers.
anything like that to like do them tearing their shoulder or rotator cuff.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
just saying, man, it sounds like a good idea until somebody gets hurt.
We're too old to toss a Vortex.
I'm just saying.
Tommy John coming right up. The one nice thing I will say about the Nerf too is like this Nerf football was awesome to play. Like you would toss it into a pool and catch the ball and dive into the pool. But once they got waterlogged, those things became, it was like a kettlebell.
Cement.
Yeah, it was like tossing a kettlebell or something. Those things got waterlogged so fast. Even if you left them out in the yard and it rained, like you're not playing with that thing for like a week.
No.
All right, this is the last one on the list, and I said we weren't going to do video games, but I still consider these Tiger Electronics more of the toy category than like video games. We all had them as a kid. I'm glad I remember you had that, Johnny. So I have this slide up, the Jordan versus Bird. I didn't know if you were going to able to find them. And I've got a take right now. So the Tiger Electronic video games, everyone had different. I remember having the X-Men one. I had a Spider-Man one as well. Everyone for road trips, like, oh, we're going to Johnny's house. Hop in the car. You know what? Let me grab my Tiger Electronic. Or we're going to Aulita's house. Hop in with the Tiger Electronics. These games suck, dude. Like none of these were any good. Like that's where we're gonna talk about it next time we have like the video game one. Tetris broke the mold. Game Boy and Tetris fucked these toys up because as much as I wanted these and liked these, as soon as Game Boy came, these things got cucked so bad.
Yeah, I will say, I'm glad you brought up that Game Boy and the Game Gear or whatever. These were just a poor band version of that, if that, and I'm being very like nice about it.
Generous.
Yeah, there was no challenge to this whatsoever. I mean, as a kid, if you didn't have a Game Boy, you didn't have a Game Gear, and I didn't have neither one up until like I had a game. No, scratch it. I did have a Game Gear, but I didn't get that till a little later. But when I was like, because I think these came out when I was like, like early 90s, right?
Yeah, it was. 90, I would probably say like 91.
91. So,
yeah.
I just think that there was no challenge to it whatsoever. The Jordan Bird one, as much as like, hey, this seems nostalgic. You had Jordan and Bird. Yes, that game sucked. Even the Nintendo version sucked as well too. If we're gonna put that out there in the world.
I am not one to besmirch Michael Jordan. You guys know that. I've done. I mean, I'll go to bat for my guy forever and always. I owe too much to him. But if I were to bum of the week him, it's for putting his name and likeness on these piece of shit things. Like they're so bad. Like, and this is me saying like I'll buy his shoes forever. I'm looking at all like the McDonald's cups from the Olympics that I used to collect. I'll collect anything Jordan. I don't want one of these, even if I were able to find one at like a garage sale or something like that. I hate those Tiger Electronics so much. But yeah, man. So that was the list of 80s and 90s nostalgia toys. I know you said you had a couple honorable mentions, or do you have any other things you wanted to talk about?
Yes. So I'll go through them as well too. You didn't talk about X-Men. The X-Men toys. When X-Men came out, they came out with the toy line, and they had like the original ones.
The X-Men
one, Sabretooth and Mr. Sinister and all that. So, you had X-Men. I don't know if you remember the starting lineup. Starting lineup had these baseball.
So
the baseball players, and I have a Steve Stacks one. Steve Stacks.
The only reason I didn't bring up the starting lineup ones is because I always thought of those more as collectibles and not necessarily action figures. Like I don't know anybody
that's true.
Like I don't know anybody that actually played, pretend baseball with them. It was just like everyone had them on their walls or like behind them, something like that.
Yeah, you're right. This Steve Sachs one is his arm's dislocated for some reason. I don't know why.
HBIC saying how come Light Bright didn't make Light Bright was a piece of shit. And I'm saying this as someone that just recently, my daughter Scarlett, she has a Light Bright in her like in her on her dresser. Those things stink, man. They've always stunk. They've stunk for 40 years. Light Bright, no dice. Micro Machines, that's a good one. We didn't really talk about any of the car stuff.
I had a lot of cars. Yeah,
Micro Machine was good. Obviously, like Hot Wheels, Matchbox. Do you remember? At least, I mean, we had to have been probably like 8 or 9. But like when the Power Wheels, the Bigfoot Power Wheels came out, that thing, I mean, you were rich if you had a Power Wheels. I never.
Oh yeah. I had a poor man's Power Wheels. It didn't even have power.
What does that mean? Like my deal got you
shit.
My deal got you a wheelbarrow? What do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, myself. I could. It wasn't a Power Wheels. I was jealous. I didn't get everything. But I got a Bart Simpson.
Those were awesome when they came out.
I got a Bart Simpson, and I have probably one of the coolest toys I have. And just because I'm such a big fan of his, and he's from the Southside Slugger, Mr. T.
Oh, from B.A. Baracus,
from the A-Team. I had like it. So I had that. It's probably one of my favorite toys growing up from the 80s because I was such a big fan.
I do remember they did have like a A-Team van as a toy as well. That was cool. Before
it was a
Ninja
slick car,
Turtles,
yeah.
it was a cool thing. Yeah. So
just another thing too. I know this wasn't a toy, but I just found them also too. Again, not a toy.
Pogs?
Nostalgia, 90s.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. I think I had like the first 30 Goosebump books.
Goosebumps. Yeah.
That's a good call. I remember like when they first came out. At this point, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. We were probably like 5th grade, 6th grade when they came out.
Yeah.
So like when my mom found out that I was like, hey, can you buy me books? She's like, oh my God, you're asking for books instead of a Super Soaker or like some games or something, video games.
Yeah.
I like, no, I want books. Yeah, those Goosebumps, at least for like the first like 30 or so, were awesome. I'm glad you
did mention something as well too.
What was that?
Pogs.
Ah, it's Svengoolie Pogs.
I got a Svengoolie Pog.
Where did you even get that?
The WCW Pog.
Yeah, Pogs were awesome.
Leave It to Beaver. Yeah. Those are just some of the stuff like the kind of like honorable mentions that I had that we didn't really get into too much. Pogs was that big of a popular thing. I think it for a little bit. I think it was maybe about a year, but I think it died out.
Yeah, it was like 1 year that Pogs were like hot in the streets, and like like lunch, like or recess, like everyone brought their little tubes of Pogs, and everyone was like, trading and slamming or even like losing. I mean, basically, you know what Pogs was? Pogs was gambling before gambling became popular. We were gambling as 5th graders with Pogs because it's like, I'm going to beat you.
Dice.
Yeah. It's basically like, rolling dice in a prison yard. But no, it was lunch and we're doing Pogs while eating pizza and drinking Ecto Cooler.
Oh, those was great.
Yeah, Ecto Cooler is good. We might have to do a nostalgia episode of just food too. But yeah, that's it. That's all we got. That was we said 45 minutes to an hour. We're at an hour 10. I knew it was going to go longer, but it was a perfect amount of nostalgia. Johnny, thank you for digging into like your mom's basement and attic or wherever you had to dust those things off. I'm gonna come over and play this weekend.
No, you're not invited because I feel like you'll break them.
I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna mess them all up. But yeah, man, it was good to have you back. Good to have you back on the 1s and 2s. We're definitely gonna do a bunch of these. I want to do video games next because between me and you, I think we covered all bases. You used to be the Super Nintendo guy. I was the Sega guy. We both had NES, and then we just kept going from there. So I think we cover a good amount of video games. And then, yeah, I think we do nostalgia food or commercials or even like theme songs. I think this is gonna be a thing.
I just need a better internet provider. I think I need to figure something out on that part.
So you know what? I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of it, because Jason's been going through the same issues, and StreamYard has been doing a lot of updates. I think the resources that StreamYard has taken is like messing up a bunch of. I think we all need new computers. I don't know if you guys, Gordo, if you want to super chat some more, we're gonna expense some laptops soon because I think between all of the streaming we do, like the laptops are smoking by the end of the episode. But yeah, we'll figure it out. Whether it's laptop or internet or anything else like that. It was good to have you back. And we're going to have you back on soon because I want to keep doing these, especially because I think nostalgia plays, especially with people our age.
Yes, I agree.
All right. I got a couple housekeeping things, so I'm going to let you go, but you hang out backstage because we can talk later. What else you want to do? Happy birthday one last time?
It's all right. It's already passed.
Yeah. We don't celebrate birthdays that long, at least at our age. All right. So thank you to Johnny. Like I said, I've been wanting to do this for a while, and we're going to keep doing these nostalgia episodes. I definitely want to get into, I didn't mention it, but like nostalgia sports stuff too. So like old school. I think a good topic to do would be like athletes, non-Chicago athletes that you liked growing up, because I know Johnny was a fan of a couple people. And a lot of people our age were a fan of Ken Griffey Jr. Like, I think I wore a Seattle Mariners hat backwards for about 4 or 5 straight years. So I think non-Chicago athletes would be a fun one. But yeah, we're going to keep doing these. We're going to do nostalgia episodes on the regular. So thank you to Johnny. Thank you to everyone in the comments. Thank you. I know the comments, again, I'm blaming StreamYard. The comments were popping up weird. They weren't going regularly, but like I mentioned, even if you're not commenting, we are now, if you want to listen to it later, the Bologna Show is on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The first 4 episodes are live already. I'm going to upload the rest as soon as I get off with this. So if you guys can, like, subscribe, comments, do the 5-star review thing. Even 4-star would be cool, but 5 would be appreciated. And then, yeah, that's it. Next week, there will be a Bologna Show. It's going to be very new, nerd news heavy. It's going to be pre-taped. And the reason it's going to be pre-taped is because I will be on Hot Takes and Heaters next week. I'm going to be on with Danny Miller and Jacob Tome. They've been doing this White Sox bingo series where everyone brings like a square, if you will. And I'm excited to chop it up with them. I know baseball is ramping up. Pitchers and catchers reported. Missy was on the south side of Chicago looking for the pitchers and catchers. Unfortunately, they were a little further south. But I will be on Hot Takes and Heaters next week at 8 p.m. So I'm going to do the Bologna Show or drop the Bologna Show as soon as Hot Takes and Heaters are over. So we're not, competing with each other. So I'm excited to hop on that. Everyone go over there and take a look at the Future Sock stuff because they're awesome. Everyone at Future Sock is a great, great YouTube channel and just great resource if you're a Sox fan. And then after that, 2 weeks from today, I'm going to be on the Bologna Show, 8 p.m. That is the 25th of February. I'm going to have Bobby DeMars of Blind Barrels. This is going to be a Bourbon Bums / Bologna Show crossover episode. Bobby DeMars, a former USC football player and filmmaker, started doing blind barrels, and they're doing a really interesting thing, at least in my eyes, or if you're a whiskey fan, it's really cool. They do a subscription-based whiskey box, and they'll send you one once a quarter, and they're sourcing whiskey from all over the country. And so you'll do your blind flight, and then on the back of the bottles, they have a QR code where you find out where and what you're drinking. It's a really cool concept. And if you're a whiskey fan, I think it's a really cool way to kind of like train your palate and kind of find new things. And like, if you have a whiskey fan in your life, it's a cool subscription to maybe do a Father's Day or birthday gift, stuff like that. So I'm really excited to talk to Bobby DeMars. We'll be tasting some whiskey live on the Bologna Show. Hopefully people in the comments, you just comment along, ask him questions, both about anything Bobby wants to answer. I'm excited about that. That'll be in 2 weeks. And then after that, I've been teasing it for like a month or more. It'll be the Oscars episode with Robert Pantalone, Bob Pants of At the Show podcast. We're going to break down the Oscars predictions and everything else like that. That'll be the first week of March. So we got a good amount of Bologna shows lined up. I'm excited to have you guys along for the ride. So if you can, like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff goes a long way with both the Sports Bums and the Bologna Show stuff. But yeah, that's it for me. I'll talk to you guys next week on Hot Takes and Heaters, and then the Bologna Show. Thank you guys so much for the comments and everything else. We'll see you next week. Smile later.
Goodbye.